Central Bank, by our Act 2007, is given the responsibility to issue and to manage notes and currency in a manner that would be efficient, in a manner that would not cost taxpayers too much, and so on and so forth. And all over the world, between 5 and 8 years, there is a review of currency structure. I just came back from London, and I know that 50 pounds and 20 pounds are wearing new look. They have introduced new versions. And so that happens again and again in every clime. And why did we come up with 5,000 naira notes? There was a research done. Following that research, we also had stakeholders conferences in Lagos and in Abuja. In the research, we looked at the level of economic activities and then the volume of money we carry. And then we related prices with those notes and currencies, and we realized that we're a lot inefficient. That's why we spend humongous amount of money printing naira that will not last more than 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then every now and then we've got to replace them. Because you see, the way to look at currency really is this. If you go into a Chinese restaurant with you and 10, 12, 20 of your friends, and then you have to pay. You can either pay through card, but if you have to pay cash, and you have to bring box or something, and then you keep counting and counting, and in other climes you don't see note counters in shops, and then you cannot just bring out your wallet and bring 2, 3 of notes and then pay. Then of course your currency is fundamentally misaligned.
So now, if I can just very quickly get into that, because I was looking at what somebody said. This guy called DeGov Osaz said, I just wonder why we need a note to aid banks and agencies to move huge cash that can easily be moved electronically. If our electronic form of payment works effectively, if we put our effort in making that work, would we still need the 5,000 naira note?
I'm afraid we still would need it. In US, we still have $100 in spite of the fact that it's at the forefront of electronic banking or electronic payment. Of course, cashless is a utopian in idea, is what we all desire, but there is no country in the world where you still don't use cash one way or the other.
You will.
So basically, to the extent that people will still use cash, to the extent that, like she said earlier, there could be challenges occasionally, and then you have to resort to the use of cash. Of course, that cash should also be used in a very, very efficient manner. And what we're saying is that the notes that are of high velocity need not be as high as 5,000. But the highest denomination of notes of any currency is not of high velocity. You can be in England for 1 month and you may not see 50 pounds. It doesn't mean that 50 pounds is not being spent by few people who will spend it. And that's what we're telling Nigerians. We're not saying that you go to Kiari market, you go everywhere, then you must of necessity see 5,000 naira note everywhere. But we're saying that Nigerians are already, by implication, spending 16,000 naira note. Why? If they spend $100 in Nigeria, maybe it will interest you to know that Nigeria is perhaps a place where dollar is spent the most outside of US, at least in Africa. And the reason is because people find it convenient to carry. And unfortunately, it is the Federal Reserve Bank of US that earns the seigniorage. So they are happy printing $100 bill for Nigerians to spend, and they earn all the seigniorage, and we are the ones losing out.
For Nigerians to spend?
Yes, of course. Because whether you like it or not, if people don't find 1,000 naira note convenient to carry, nature abhors vacuum. They already have proxy in $100 bill. I sit in a vantage position in central bank, and I know the volume of $100 that circulates even in Nigeria. And we're saying this is not helpful to our economy. We spend a lot of money, just look at 1,000 naira today. The rate at which it's exchanging hands, it's no longer a store of value as it were. It has become a common day transaction currency, which is why it is important we come up with a higher denomination. And this is not the first time we're doing it. Of course it is.
It is because of inflation.
It is because of inflation, but people say it will cause inflation. And I say it is not the case of the tail wagging the dog. It's the dog that wags the tail. You come up with higher denomination because inflation had settled into your economy. However, it doesn't then mean that when you have higher denomination, it will signal inflation. No. If you manage your economy, you use, central bank's duty every day is to keep inflation low. And we haven't given up on that. We will not give up on that because that is our duty. But we're saying for now, given the price levels, it is important we have higher denomination notes.
So in essence, you're saying, sorry, Alara, in essence, you're saying that the production or bringing to bear of the 5,000 naira note is an acknowledgement of the fact that inflation is increasing in Nigeria?
No. Oh. It is an acknowledgement of the fact that in the last 10, 15, 20 years, we have had inflation that affected price levels.
Okay.
You see, because inflation, I mean, we in other words, we use our rear mirror to look at inflation that had kicked in the past. Yes, looking at our front mirror, we're dealing with it, we're succeeding, we shall succeed. Like in other countries, they have succeeded. Yet, inflation experienced in the past is now reflecting in their currency.
So if it reflects in our currency, it means, isn't it an acknowledgement that it's gotten to a point where a 5,000 naira note becomes relevant?
That's basically what we're saying.
So you're saying the 5,000 notes become relevant because inflation is this high?
Because we had inflation that was high.
We had is different from we
because when you had inflation yesterday that affected your price level, even if inflation disappears today, it doesn't move the price back. You understand? Inflation is like the velocity of a car. You have a car. Inflation talks about the speed at which the car is moving. You understand? So if, of course, the car had moved at very high speed from Lagos to Kaduna and has now slowed down from Kaduna to Kano, of course, you have to acknowledge that the implication of the speed from Lagos to Kaduna would have affected the price levels generally. Because, I mean, if you look at other climes, Japan today has 10,000 yen and their inflation number is negative. You know, you have a country like Indonesia that has 100,000 rupiah, just one note. Yet their inflation number is only 5%.
Okay, I do beg your pardon. We have a caller on the line. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead, but you will need to reduce the volume of your television set so that you can speak with us.
I have.
Good, so please go ahead.
Okay. What Tunde Lemo is saying there. The examples he is giving, talking about Chinese restaurants, talking about US, talking about London. What has people in this country? He is not giving the example to suit what the ordinary person in Nigeria would 25,000 naira. You go to the bank, that's what you said, take it or leave it. That's what, but you go to the bank to cash your money, they give you 50 naira bundle. They tell you take it or leave it. So because it's not a quota, whether you are using it or not. Come to Nigeria and to us. Don't tell us about Chinese restaurants. How many people go to Chinese?
Okay, thank you, Eddie.
Well, I think my very good friend need to know that I started by saying that every Nigerian has, I mean, the prerogative of the notes that you want to have. Even when we introduce 5,000 naira note, you can go to your bank and say, I don't want 5,000.
Give me 500.
Give me 500. Give me even hundreds. Give me 50s. And it will be illegal for that bank to say you must carry 5,000 naira. 5,000 naira is only for those who will need it. And I say this with all sense of responsibility as Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, that we shall ensure that no bank imposes 5,000 naira on anybody who doesn't want it. So when I laugh when I hear about imposition. In fact, you can go to your bank and say 5,000 I won't touch. And that's the clarification that our good friend needs to know.
Okay. Some people have said that at this time that Nigeria is pursuing a cashless policy, doesn't seem to be the time to be introducing that kind of large note. You're telling us not to carry cash at all, and yet you're telling us that if we don't want to carry cash, a lot of it, then we can carry 5,000 naira.
Thank you very much. I always say this, the two policies are not contradictory, rather they are complementary. We're designing an economy that is designed to be top 20 by year 2020 in terms of the ease of doing business, efficiency, and what have you. The introduction of cashless is actually to bring Nigeria to a point where we begin to depend less and less on cash in the way we do things. Excellent, super. It's like you have a superstructure, 10-story building, and you say, look, it's not convenient to be using staircase all the time. I have installed the lift. It doesn't mean then you will go and say that you cannot repair the staircases even when you need to, because occasionally people for health reason may still want to take staircase. Occasionally the lift may be faulty and you have people use staircase, so you cannot afford a free fall just because you have installed the lift. All we're saying is that cashless, yes, but people will still need cash, but even that little cash that will be needed should still be organized in an efficient manner, in a way that will save Nigerian public money. We spend too much money printing notes, and we can spend much less by being more efficient.
That is a question I would want to raise, but we'll very quickly take a question from someone who's calling in.